That's fun. How many people thought that this was, that was a new thing? Like you didn't read the note before you go? Yeah, okay. That's right. Brian, right? Yeah, thank you. All right. Hey, first of all, thank you so much for being here. What a cool space, right? Yeah, right? This is our vibe. Yeah, it's doing something a little unconventional. We don't, you know, I'm not a big country club guy or anything like that. So let's do something like this in a space that makes sense, right? So first of all, more than anything else, I just want to say thank you. There's an abundance of members here, only a couple guests, and so thanks for making the push to be a part of this. And it's a huge part of what we do as a community. Also with community, I want to thank our community supporters. Right? So thank you, April. So community supporters, you know, besides our members, community supporters are the lifeblood that helps this community survive, financially help us put on these events like this and help us be able to do some of the good things that we do. So All-in-One Accounting, Crystal's here to represent All-in-One Accounting. Wave your hand, yep. Yeah. E-Wealth Partners, Brian Adamek. Yep, there we go, Brian. Insperity, I think I saw Sally. There we go. I love it. So far, batting 1,000. UHC, is Raymer here? Oh, Adam Raymer, the person that introduced me to Kelly. That's not good. USI, we got a couple. Ryan and David. Oh, yeah. Not sitting by each other. That's good. And then Verseek, John Nunn. All right. Thank you very much. Those are our prospering level community supporters. Our thriving level community supporters are Boulay, Kaisa, Flagship Bank. Is Addie here? There we go, Addie. There we go. And then Siler, James. All right. And then our evolving level. I'll just buzz through these. Carlson Partners, Fluid Interiors, Keystone Group International, Modern Foundation, and Rev Advisory Group. All right, so thank you so much. I also want to say thank you to Mike and the Alchemy team for hosting this event. I mean, this space is epic, and this is exactly what we're about, like I said at the beginning. So thank you so much. Zach has been fantastic about letting us come in here and crash this thing in the afternoon, and then get it all set up this morning early. I also want to thank our event supporters. So we've got Acre Workplace here. So we've got a couple people from Acre. Thank you, Ben and Amanda. We also got Cox Insurance. Yeah, Derek Gruber. Thank you. And then Joey with Revival Sauna. There we go. Shocker, he sits in the front seat. He brings his own freaking name tag. And then if anybody's on Slack, which is like maybe 20% of you, he's the most active on Slack.
Is there a word for that?
There will be. Let's think about year-end awards. Yeah, let's think about year-end award for Joe. Yeah. The other thing about which I think is cool, is Joey brought his sauna. So I'll talk a little bit about how the flow is going to go today, and then where we're going to go after this, because there's a class here at noon, and so we need to shuffle right on out of here. So I'm going to introduce our event partner, who is going Modern Health. That it's going to Kelly's going to be able to guide you through today, and then we've got 3 experts. And so I'm not going to steal her thunder on introducing them, but Kelly's going to be your moderator. When we wrap up here, we got to do a couple things. One is we got to get out of here by like 11:15. So you're under the gun. 1. 2 is that when we're done, part of the wellness aspect of this is going to be a little bit of physical. I need you to literally pick your chair up and walk it over to this, right out this back door here, and set it, and we need to stack them 7 high. All right? How many high? 7. You guys are good. All right. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get out of here, go out the way you came, and then there's a patio on that side of the building, and that's where Joey's got his sauna parked. You can check out the sauna. He didn't turn it on. I think you literally could just shut the door and it'll be sauna temperature in there, being 90 degrees. It's disgusting. But check out the sauna, and then you've got time to hang out over there. We just need to leave the space. All right? Cool. All right, Modern Health. so I met Kelly at an event, at an event earlier this year, and Adam Raymer from United Healthcare introduced me to Kelly because Kelly and he used to work together. And so I called Adam and I'm like, hey, just an FYI, do you have any of your friends or colleagues or anything that would maybe want to partner on this event? It's pretty specific and not all of our members work in this space. And he's like, yep, Kelly. So I had to call Kelly. Kelly said, yep, let me just go through the legal side of things and make sure that marketing is aligned and all that stuff. And it was a no-brainer. So I'm so pumped to have Kelly here that is an event partner to partner with us on this and then also guide you through today. So I want to introduce you to Kelly Nichols.
Wow, that is a great name tag, Joey. Oh. I know, right? I'm getting front and center now. So, Kelly Nichols. I'm a senior partner manager at Modern Health, and just incredibly grateful to Aaron, the C9 team, and all of you as members to just have the opportunity to connect today. So, thanks for making this happen. We're all here today to talk about self-care and wellness for leaders. So I think we've all come here with similar, for similar reasons, but with different personal intentions. And that's a thread that goes throughout Modern Health. Now, Modern Health is potentially a name that you guys don't recognize, a brand that's not too familiar. So I'll share just a little bit about who we are and what we do. Modern Health is a global, comprehensive mental health company and solution for employer groups. And we provide employees with access to a wealth of resources, from digital resources to virtual community and group sessions to one-on-one care with coaches and therapists. Now, a lot of things that make the Modern Health solution unique and effective. And one of those things is that we meet people wherever they're at on their mental health journey. So what that looks like in practice is, for someone who is of good mental health, this is often a population that is overlooked when we think about supporting mental health. People that are in good mental health have access to those digital resources that I mentioned. So for example, podcasts or meditations. It's important to support people that are in a good state of mental health. These are often, probably like many of you, high performers at work, and just really support and allowing people to thrive in their personal lives. On the other end of that spectrum, there are individuals that have a true clinical need for one-to-one care with a therapist. It's an individual perhaps that's suffering from depression. So getting them into a place where they can actually recover and improve their state and be able to get back to a place in life that is better functioning and feels better. And people's mental states change throughout the course of time. We don't stay in one state over time, so our solution really does support in allowing individuals to get the right care at the right time. Now, one of the challenges we see in the healthcare space is access to quality care in a timely fashion. We know that with traditional solutions like an employee assistance program, some of you have heard of those, and EAP, we often see time to care as being weeks, even months. Someone with a mental health need, it's just not acceptable. We have a stratified approach to care, which goes very deep, so I'm not going to talk about it, but I'm just going to let you know that our approach allows people access to a one-on-one session in less than 1 day, which is important when you're talking about someone who really does have an acute need. One of the other things I'll mention is we have a best-in-class client success team. So for employers that are rolling this out, we're not just putting an app out there in the hands of employees and saying, here, you figure it out. We have a client success team that partners with your HR teams and really does support in creating an organizational level change and changing that culture. So things like just reducing the stigma around mental health so people feel comfortable accessing care, and really creating engagement, which impacts outcomes for the individual and for the business. So I've just scratched the surface here. If any of this piques your curiosity, please find me today. Paige Lawler, please, Paige, wave, stand up, let people see you. She's my colleague. She came with me today. We both get a lot of energy about talking about what we do. So we're happy to share more about Modern Health, and we're also just happy to talk about what the mental health marketplace looks like. There's just a ton to navigate, so we're happy to have those conversations. So look forward to talking to all of you. All right, So, I have the pleasure of now introducing our workshop leaders, and we've got a killer lineup. So, our first workshop leader is a personal friend of mine, so I'm particularly honored. Mike Jones, he's the co-founder of this incredible space, Alchemy 365, and he's also a fractional integrator at William Charlotte. I'm gonna let him explain what that is. But just a few words about Mike. So, he's a serial entrepreneur and a growth coach who focuses on helping entrepreneurs break through their ceilings. He has an extensive background in fitness programs, which is probably pretty relevant by the space that we're in, as well as businesses. And this year, he's incorporating multiple walks a day into his wellness routine. So, Mike?
Thanks. Can you all hear me in the back okay? Okay, cool. Good to see you all. I'm glad you're all here. This is a pretty fit looking group, which is good. So you want to adjust, you know, everyone is a different stage of their journey, so that's good to see. So good job, everybody. Just administrative detail, we only have about an hour total, and so the workout portion will be about 30 minutes, okay? Just kidding, we're not doing a workout. We're not doing a workout. Okay, so I'm going to talk, we have 3 awesome speakers. I'm going to talk about generally the fitness side of things, with the higher level being overall wellness, okay? So I'm going to speak most about fitness. And I've got 3 main points that I want to get across. They are acceptance, understanding of where you are currently, and that your past does not affect your future. The second part is that living a life of fitness and wellness truly and as part of who you are requires a mindset, and it requires a mindset shift to become the kind of person that you want to be. That's the second area that I want to get across. And then the third is that getting there is based on little incremental improvements and habits that build over a very long period of time with consistency, and not diving into extreme weight loss programs or fitness programs and then falling off. So those are the 3 areas. Thanks for the wonderful introduction. My background, I've been an entrepreneur since 2009, entirely in the fitness space for the first decade, where I built the first CrossFit business in St. Paul and Minneapolis, sold that, and then launched Alchemy. And Alchemy is a group fitness program. I stepped down as CEO 2.5 years ago, and since then I've been building a coaching business with companies that run EOS, coaching entrepreneurs, and then coaching other entrepreneurs as they're making change, as they're moving from corporate America, that kind of thing. And so I've been working with people on their fitness journey and on their wellness journey for a long time. And the first part, as I mentioned, is thinking about where you are. So we want to make this interactive. So 2-part. One is we're not going to do a workout, but we are going to move. Okay, so I'm going to teach you all one movement that we have space for, which is really like the core movement in any fitness program, which is the air squat. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate, and I'm going to have everyone just stand up, and then you're going to do it. And when you sit, you're going to sit to your chair, or you can spread out just a little bit. And so I'm going to show you. So it's feet under the shoulders, not the hips, toes slightly out. And then you can go hands up or hand down. You're going to keep your chest up, and you're going to sit back and push your knees out until your hips are right at your knees. Okay? So go ahead and stand up. And look at your feet. Make sure they're under your shoulders. Toes slightly out. And then you can put your hands up if you want. And then go ahead and sit back and down, pushing your knees out. You can stay down. Stay down. All right, go ahead and stand up. Yeah, that was pretty good. You guys know how to squat. All right, give me 5 air squats, please. Yeah, that's great. So this is like the essential weightlifting movement, and you don't need to do it with weight. It can be done anywhere, as part of any workout, as a break. Okay, go ahead and sit down. Thank you. That was beautiful. All right, so now we'll have a little bit of the interactive portion. So find a neighbor, someone to talk to, raise your hand. Raise your hand. Okay, so now with your partner, I want you to rate with each other on a scale of 1 to 10 your fitness journey today. Where are you? Where 1 is you're completely sedentary, it's all falling apart. 10 is you are in the best shape of your life. Nice to meet you. You have the best person. Let's have one person stand up and tell us who's brave, and tell us where you are and where your partner is. Go ahead. Let's see. Raise a hand. Who wants to? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, Ross is my partner, and we decided 10 was like the best shape we've ever been in our life.
Yep.
And 1's
the worst.
shape.
But yeah, like you have nothing left. Yeah.
So we decided we're both at an 8. No, I'm sorry. Ross is at an 8, I'm at a 7.
Okay. That's good. That's really good. One more brave volunteer. Okay, go ahead.
All right, I'll be brave.
Yeah.
I'm Jasmine. Avi is my partner. So Avi is at a 6 today, and then I would say I'm at a 3 today.
A 3? Okay.
So we're working on some consistency.
Okay, excellent. All right. So the point of this exercise is, of course, it doesn't matter where you are. And what matters is knowing where you are and how does it relate to where you have been, where you're going, and where you can go. And so, like, I'll relate to myself. I've spent a lot of years having a really consistent, durable health and wellness routine that stands the test of time. Believe it or not, when I was my first business owner at a CrossFit gym, I was the CrossFit gym owner. And I had twins, I was 31, and I was actually in pretty bad shape because I didn't have a consistent, durable plan. I was on for a while, and then I would fall off with my fitness, and I would also be on and off with my nutrition. And I also didn't have a mindfulness program because I didn't even know that was a thing 10 years ago, and so on and so forth. So I didn't even know where I was. What I had was I would have frustration that I wasn't meeting my goals. But a lot of it was a result of just not knowing and accepting and giving myself love and grace of where I was in my journey. And so like today, I'm kind of back in that phase where I have a new baby. I had my 4th kid. He's about to be 6 months old. Yeah, he's very sweet. His name's Gabriel. And so my time has been shrunk down a little bit. So I'm actually at about a 6 right now personally. And what that looks like for me is I normally historically, I would work out about 6 days a week, and the combination would be Alchemy classes, CrossFit classes, Jiu-Jitsu. That's my thing. That's been my thing for a while. What I did 3 months ago when the time was getting shrunk down was I went down to my baseline. So I actually stopped Jiu-Jitsu consciously for the summer because I wanted to be outside more. I do not want to drive as much, it's a little bit further away. And I shrunk down to the basics, which is for me, lifting 3 or 4 days a week. As Kelly mentioned, a shit ton of walks, like way more walks than I normally, because I can stack that with walking the baby, doing business calls. So lots of walks, dialing in my nutrition, no alcohol. So those are the changes that I made to keep myself going pretty well during a time when I have less time. And then as the summer goes along, I'll expand it and expand it. So the point is, know where you are, love and accept where you are in your journey, and then know that you can always get better. How your behavior and how your habits are currently and how they've been in the past have absolutely no reflection on how they can be in the future, okay? So that's the first part. So overall, from a philosophical standpoint, I've built a philosophy on life that involves meaningful work that gives you purpose, meaningful relationships with family and community, consistent learning and stretching of our mental comfort zone, physical exertion that stretches our physical comfort zone, and then fueling and caring for our mind and body in a way that allows us to thrive. So that's kind of like my pillars of living a fulfilled life. And as we're talking about, I'm talking about the fitness portion. And what that means to me, and what I want to reflect is, in order for us to thrive, I truly believe that humans need to have consistent physical exertion that pushes their boundaries from a physical standpoint. Doesn't mean unsafe, doesn't mean excessive, it just means consistent. It meets us where we are. It's different for everyone. We all have a different level of fitness. So I truly believe that, and I want to express that to all of you. Is there anybody, raise your hand if you exercise regularly. Yeah, I figured this group would be about 100%. So we have 100%. We've already crossed that chasm. You know, we're already in the top 10% in our country. Because more than half of the people in our country don't even exercise at all. So we've already crossed that chasm. I would argue you want to find things that constantly push and challenge you forever. So that would be the biggest thing. Where moving is the first step. Challenging yourself and growth is the second step. Let's see, where are we? Okay, so next part for the interactive portion is, so 3 main priorities: work, family, health. What I would like to know is, if you're being honest with yourself, share with your partner, how do you prioritize those 3? What is the rank order of prioritization? 30 seconds, go.
Person to stand up, volunteer. Can I get one volunteer? One volunteer?
Yes, sir. All right, what was your group's rank?
So I think, like, personally, I said faith comes first, then family and work. Family and work are kind of the same, working in a family business.
Yeah.
But prioritizing a life is a new concept to me.
Yeah.
And then doing health always comes at like a second thought of, oh yeah, we should probably go and do this.
Yeah, okay.
That's not prioritization.
Awesome. Can I get one more? Yes, ma'am.
So I do health, family, work, and my belief is that if you put your own air mask first and take care of yourself, that I can take good care of my family, and then if I take good care of my family, I can be good at work. If I can't take care of myself or my family, I'm going to be a piece of shit at work.
Excellent. Thank you. Did you steal my notes before?
I did not.
So, I would argue, so most of us, and I would probably argue almost all of us at periods of time are going to have, if we really honest with ourselves, we're going to have the rank order of work, family, health, or maybe family, work, health. And the reason for that is it does feel like we need to prioritize those things. But I would argue, and I truly believe, and I've seen it as it's become the priority for me, and I've seen the benefits of it, I would argue that health first, then work and family, hopefully family, then work, in my opinion, but that's outside of the scope of this conversation, allows for the other ones to go better. Meaning, if you take the approach of, I am going to care for myself first and make sure that I am in the best physical and mental shape that I can be, I'm going to be a better father or mother or community member, and I'm going to be a better performer at work. So that is one thing in terms of how do we make it so that we are someone who just exercises and moves as part of our core identity, and we know we can't even be normal without it, versus a regular person who's a dad, who works a lot, who is always trying to get in shape. It's a huge difference in that mindset. And so I would argue, if you think to yourself on a daily, weekly basis, my health is my #1, and then work and family, I would argue that it will all benefit. And the work and family will be better because you've taken care of yourself and you can give yourself to your family and your work. Okay, so that's the second point I want to get across. All right. Third point is, what does a good fitness program look like, and how do I get better all the time, forever? And so I've got real simple baselines. Everyone's going to do a different workout program. Come try Alchemy. It's a great program, but it's not for everyone. It's probably only for like 10% of you. But there's something out there for everyone, and it's going to change over time or forever. So I have some foundational, like, here's the baseline that I want to share, and then we'll talk briefly about how to make things better over time, and that'll be it for my portion. So My like baseline, this is what makes a good overall fitness program, is lift weights 2 to 4 days a week, load bearing activities. You all did the squat. In fact, it's time to do 5 more squats. Let's do it. All right, go ahead and do 5 more. Pretty good. Remember, push the knees out, sit back. Your hips go below your knee. That's a full squat. You want to do full range of motion in your weightlifting activities. Good work. Okay, so lift weights, load bearing activities. My opinion, if you only have one thing to do, lifting weights is the way to go. It's the most bang for your buck. You do compound movements. It builds lean mass. It keeps your bone health and ligament health. The benefits are endless. The world is catching up to that concept. It's kind of becoming mainstream that you have to lift weights. 10 years ago it wasn't. It was like run, do cardio, all that stuff. But lift weights is number 1 for me. Number 2 is intensity. So get your heart rate up to max a couple times a week. And that could look like anything that you want. It could be a group fitness, interval workout. It can go for a run, do sprints, circuits, pickleball, yeah, anything. Yeah, sports, anything you want. So that's the other one, is get some intensity where you get your heart rate up close to max a couple times a week. The other one is active movement, is a lifestyle of movement. Long walks, yoga, what else? Dancing. My favorite is dancing, by far. I do that at least once a week. What are some other things that are just like your active daily things to live?
Like gardening.
Biking. What's that?
Gardening.
Gardening. Yeah, gardening. Playing with your kids. Chasing your kids around. Swimming. Yeah, a big one is like, if you have kids, like I'm not a natural player with kids. I had to like train myself to play with them, and then what I found is once I did it and I didn't make it an option, then I'm moving around with them all the time. And it's all of a sudden, like some people are natural at it, but I'm not. But really what it is have a mindset towards movement, where it's like whatever you're doing, instead of sitting, find a way to move. That's the way to go. And that's what I mean by active. So it's like we should be moving all day. I'm not the biggest proponent of measuring with the data analytics, but like the whole getting your steps thing, it's real. The more, the better. We are not meant to sit for 8 hours a day. Sound nutrition plan, which is the next part, but sound nutrition plan. And then sleep. Sleep could be its own hour and a half subject, but of course we all know this. We need to prioritize our sleep in order to be healthy and perform. So those are the basics. Lift weights, get some intensity, be active, follow a good nutrition program, good sleep. Those are my basics. Very simple. Okay, so how to do that? The way to do that is you could dive in and do your 90-day challenge type thing, which there are some benefits of those kind of programs, just to completely just knock the ball out of the park in terms of doing it all, and then you fall back and hopefully you've made some incremental improvements. But overall, the real way to do it is incremental improvements that become habits that you stick with, and then add something else and stay consistent with it, okay? I really think that's the secret. Going from 0 to 100 doesn't often work for people in the long run. That's why diets, extreme fitness programs, they often don't work because people get injured, people go too far in one direction and they yo-yo back and forth. Really, it's consistent, incremental over time, okay? So, last interactive part of my portion would be with your partner. Please say one thing that you're working on over the next month to improve your fitness. 30 seconds, go ahead.
Can I get one volunteer to be brave and say what them and their partner are going to do? One volunteer? Yeah.
Well, I'm actually having rotator cuff surgery Tuesday, and I got a weighted vest, and I'm joining. I'm like not letting it slow me down. So that's a really big deal for me, because otherwise you get like in deep depression and need lots of mental health help. And she is just joining the Marsh and the Tonka and getting a personal training.
Nice. Love it. Okay, that's great. Good work. And so with the weighted vest, what are you doing? Like walking around?
Squats, lunges,
squat. Okay.
Walking.
Walking. Yeah, a lot of just movement that you
Yep.
Okay, awesome. That's great. That gets into one of my pieces, which is something is better than nothing.
Yes.
And consistency is better than intensity. Awesome. Can I get one more? One more. I saw a hand in the back. I see a hand in the back. One more group to share. One more group share. Pretty please.
We got it.
Okay. Joey?
So mine is just getting my morning habit back, my morning consistent habit, and James he's been starting intermittent fasting.
Oh, nice.
And also doing like a run to like a adult playground, which is basically just like where there's an outdoor playground or an outdoor thing doing it.
What's your morning habit, Joey?
No, just getting back into the morning workout.
Morning workout.
Just getting done right away.
This month?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Awesome. So, we're all friends here. We're all new friends. So, with your partner, please ask each other to hold yourselves accountable to what you said you're going to do. Stick with whatever you're doing. Make ways to do it and stay with it. So a couple ways to make those things more efficacious, make you stick with them more. I've got a list of 6. One is scheduling. So if you put your workouts on your schedule and you, just like you would a meeting with a client or a customer meeting, and you stick with it, and your support mechanism, your family and your coworkers know that you do that, you're going to do it more. So that's one. Make it convenient. It's got to be something that you can do. If it's a drag, it might work for the short term. Like if it's truly a novel thing that you're like, I'm going to drive a half hour for this once a week, sure. But eventually it's going to fade away, so it's got to be convenient. Related is make it novel, and by novel I mean it's got to be something that captivates your attention. I'm not of the opinion that it has to be fun all the time. It's great to have fun, active things, but from a workout standpoint, it just needs to be something that is interesting enough to stick with for a period of time, and that's going to change over time. Like in the fitness industry, group fitness, like we've got a 2-year shelf life for people, and then some people stay forever, but most people are on to something else after 2 years. Most are actually a little bit faster, and that's okay. Move on to what's working. Like the best fitness program is the one that works. Something is better than nothing. Okay, so life gets in the way. Like you said, like I'm at a 6 right now. I'm still moving every day. I'm still getting my workouts in. Sometimes they're not nearly as intense, long, or comprehensive as I'd like them to, but I'm doing something. Something is always better than nothing. As we talked about with habit forming, all or nothing, go all in, generally does not work in the long run. Building habits that compound over time is the real key to becoming a different person, becoming a person who's always active. And then the last piece is consistency trumps intensity. So consistency is the key. Like intensity, you want to find intensity in your workouts periodically, but consistency is really the path to getting there. Let's do one more set of air squats. We're right on track. I had 3 on my notes. So yeah, remember to push the knees. Okay, this is great. All right, thank you. Thanks for being good troopers. Okay, go ahead and sit down. I think we have Q&A at the end, correct? Okay, yeah. So that is my time. Thank you very much. For Q&A at the end, and I'll be around afterwards with questions or just to talk, get introduced. Thank you very much.
All right. questions in. He had a lot of great content. I know sometimes it's hard when we go through multiple speakers, but yeah, he'll be ready for you in an hour or so. Okay, I'm excited to announce our next workshop leader. She's at a really cool spot in her career journey. Her name is Brittney Hegg, and she's a registered dietitian, nutritionist, and a certified personal trainer at B.Strong Nutrition. I'm just going to share a little bit about what she's doing from a self-care perspective. She's focusing on practicing mindfulness, which to her means that she's getting in tune with and listening to what her body's needs are. So that means that a workout is just as important as getting good sleep, as well as eating balanced meals. Or might actually reference that as well. So these two are in lockstep here. Some days you're going to need sleep, and maybe that means that you're not doing that morning workout. I actually took this advice this morning. I got up at my same time that I normally do, and I did half of my workout, and got here on time mostly, besides the slight detour. But anyway, so I followed that good advice. She does make a point though that being mindful about, making the decisions between the two should not be an excuse for being lazy. So there's a fine line there. But Brittney.
Yay!
Okay, hi everybody. I usually like to walk around, but the mics are right here, so I'm probably just gonna stand here all the time. So before I dive in, Kelly just told you that I'm a registered dietitian, and I'm gonna really briefly clarify the difference between a dietitian and a nutritionist, because I know that's a pretty common misconception. So dietitians, we have to have specific undergrad coursework, usually in the sciences, and then we have to apply for and complete our dietetic internships, which is 1,200 hours of supervised practice and rotations. We have to sit for our boards. I have my master's. It's going to be required as of 2024, so next year it will be required to have your master's to sit for your boards. And then also, depending on the state that you live in, licensure requirements are different. Minnesota is actually one of the most strict states in the US, which basically just means unless you're a licensed dietitian in Minnesota, you are legally not allowed to give out any nutrition advice. So that's a dietitian. And then on the flip side, a nutritionist, to be frank, could literally be all of you in this room right now. So a nutritionist is just anyone who wants to call themselves a nutritionist, regardless of their background or experience. And the reason I feel this is important to clarify is because, first of all, social media is everywhere and super unavoidable, and there are a ton of influencers and a lot of people in the health circle who like to call themselves nutritionists, but that doesn't always mean they're the best person to follow and listen to. And then also in the business world, if you're ever wanting to bring someone into your business or to talk to your teams and to speak on nutrition, I just highly recommend you try to find a dietitian versus a nutritionist. So that's my little spiel on that. And then a little bit more about me. Super excited to announce that I've recently started my own business called B.Strong Nutrition. So, it's a process, right? But B.Strong's purpose is to help as many people as possible to understand the importance of nutrition, how it impacts your mental and physical well-being, and then to also help people do this in a way that becomes kind of like what we already talked about a little bit today, but just little baby habits over time that can become full sustainable lifestyle changes versus kind of those crash diets that are out there, essentially. So what I'm hoping to accomplish, my company is based on group work. So I'm hoping by doing group programs, I'm able to help more people, but still provide services that feel personal. And then since it's group, hopefully a little bit more affordable for people versus those one-on-one settings. So I work with high school club teams. I run some small adult programs that are capped at 12 people. They're 6 weeks long. And then I also provide some corporate team programs as well. So enough about me. Let's get into the fun stuff now. I'm going to start by just raise of hands how many people here usually skip a meal during their day at some point. If every day or just a few times a week. Okay, I'm actually impressed. That's less than I was expecting. And then raise of hands for the amount of people that get takeout throughout the week. Mostly. Yeah, pretty. And there's no shame in any of those, by the way. That's very normal. But also, like, especially for this group of humans right here, you're all career-oriented individuals. Many of you are intra or entrepreneurs, and I guarantee you most of you are trying to balance family life with everything else that you do too, which basically just means that a lot of you don't have a ton of excess time in your schedule to do a lot of things, but especially to constantly be preparing healthy, nutrient-dense, balanced meals and snacks that you can take with you wherever you go during your workday, right? So I'm hoping that after going through some of these activities today, hopefully the takeaway will be that you'll learn a little bit more about how to balance better throughout your day, and then also the importance truly of having something to eat no matter what it is versus totally skipping a meal altogether. Which, little caveat there too, I do understand there are some people who are genuinely so busy some days you don't even have time to run out and grab a quick meal. There are really great snack options too that you can ask me about later. It's a whole different discussion. Today we're just gonna focus on quick meal ideas. So that's gonna bring us into our first activity, the little packets that you just got. The first 2 pages. The first page is this meal composition ingredient list situation. The second page is, you only need the first 2 pages right now. So that second page is just a picture of all the meals and then a name of the fast food restaurant. So I picked the top 6 most popular restaurants that my current clients say they frequent. So if you never go here, I apologize. This is just on everyone else I talk to. But what I want you to do is take a few minutes, read through all the things that are in these meals, and then with the people sitting next to you, kind of debate amongst yourselves and circle the meal that you think is the most balanced out of these 6. All right. If you haven't circled something, just go ahead and circle something. If you guys haven't decided, just circle something random and we'll talk it out. I'm gonna need like 2 or 3 volunteers. Can someone want to be the first volunteer to say what their group chose and why? In the back, yeah.
We chose Chipotle because it seemed the most balanced. It had dairy and carbs and grains and proteins and all that.
Perfect, yeah, great choice, yeah. Did anyone choose something besides Chipotle as a balanced? Yeah.
We started with Chipotle and then we looked at the pictures and just the Starbucks picture just seemed compelling.
Yeah, right? Absolutely. Yes. Does anyone want to say a meal that their group didn't choose and why they didn't choose that meal? Yeah.
Well, we saw the Taco Bell one, we were like, oh, it's pretty close to the Chipotle. And then we're like, oh, the avocado ranch sauce and the nacho cheese sauce probably crushes that. So, you tried to trick us with the reduced fat sour cream, right?
Yeah, we saw that.
And then we're like, oh, we see that ranch sauce there.
That's fair, yeah. Fair observations, yeah.
We were so dialed into the Chipotle that we didn't realize that Panera. When we were looking at the picture, and then we're like, look at the picture, like, there's a lot of greens in there, and like veggies and
yes.
We did not pick Panera because salads can be deceptive with their seasoning, like the sauce.
I know, right? Sometimes if you look at restaurants, they're like, burgers are actually healthier for you sometimes. Okay, so to be totally honest, first of all, great answers, and thank you for your participation. It was a little bit of a trick question, to be honest. So I asked for you to pick the most balanced, which I know some of you sounds like you got that. I didn't ask for the most nutrient dense or the healthiest. So what I mean by balanced is if you were to look at the total calories in ratio to the amount of macronutrients, what is the balance there? And so like the Starbucks meal, for example, that's like a lot less food than the Chipotle bowl probably, but when you look at the balance of total calories to macronutrients, it's actually like pretty similar. So the reason that I wanted to start with this activity is partly because I really want to just drill in today that your meals are not always going to be perfect. Sometimes these are your only options, and then what, right? So it's okay that your meals are not always going to be perfect. And I also wanted to stress that, especially this group right here, with how often so many of you are on the go, or going out to eat with colleagues or clients, or traveling. Well, I'm sure quite a few of you travel a lot for work, but also just for pleasure. That really sometimes can limit your options, right? So you do have to get a little creative about how do you balance your meals best in those situations. And then on top of that, I would consider all of you to be kind of the elites in your career field, right? So you need to start thinking about how to fuel yourself properly and consistently so that you can be on top of your mental A game all the time while you're trying to do your job. So back to the kind of balance piece of it. What I mean by that is ideally your meals and snacks will be consistently balanced with a combination of carbohydrates, protein, fat, and fiber. So before we get into our next exercise, I'm going to do really high-level education on those just so everyone kind of knows what I'm talking about. But I'll make it interactive so it's still not like I'm just talking at you for the next 5 minutes. So let's start with carbohydrates. Does anyone want to shout out very first thing that comes to mind for carbohydrate sources in your diet? Okay, yeah. I don't know exactly what that was. Sounds like it was all great things. Yes. So I'm just gonna expand. Carbs are going to be in all the food sources that grow from the earth, plus dairy products. So essentially, if it's not meat, seafood, or eggs, it is a carbohydrate. So just remember that for this next thing. Anything that's not meat, seafood, or eggs is going to be a carb. And I know that they're like kind of demonized in society as of late, but I just want to stress that they are your body and brain's preferred and main fuel source. So if anyone in here is attempting any sort of like low carb diet situation, I would urge you to include carbs again. And that's the end of my soapbox on carbs. All right, so now moving on to protein. Protein ideas out there? Chicken?
Fish.
Yes, perfect, okay. Yeah, I would say 90% of the American population probably immediately goes to animal foods, which is, totally makes sense, those are complete proteins. So any animal food, any animal source will be proteins. There might be a vegetarian or vegan person in this room too, and if so, your mind immediately went to the plant sources. So some good plant sources of protein are going to be soy products, so like edamame and tofu, beans and legumes, grains, nuts and seeds. Pretty much any plant product that isn't a fruit or vegetable will have some sort of protein in it, for the most part. On to fat. Anyone want to name a fat source? Avocado. Peanut butter. What? Yeah, olive oil. Let's go. All right, love this. Yes, fat. I would say fat's a little bit trickier just because there's a few different types of fat that I'm not going to get into. But as long as you think of like meat products have fat, seafood, you know, fatty fish. There's a lot of great fatty fish out there. Oils, so plant oils and their plant sources. So olives and olive oil, avocados and avocado oil, etc. Butter and margarine have fat. So just, and then yeah, nuts and seeds are also some great sources of fat. And then I would say fat also sometimes is still a little iffy in people's mind. 20 years ago, we didn't want anything to do with it. And now you're either like all about it or you just still don't want anything to do with it. So just know that it is essential, and a couple things that it can be helpful with. Like it helps to produce the hormones that tell you whether or not you're hungry or full. So it's probably nice to know when you're feeling full, right? And then also it helps with satiety, which in turn just helps to prevent cravings. So a couple reasons to include some fat in your diet. And finally, fiber is not a macronutrient, but I think it's super, super important, so I always give it its little pseudo macronutrient category. Does anyone know of a fiber source or two? Celery, flaxseed.
Dried fruit.
Yeah, perfect. So really, fiber is going to be in pretty much all the plant sources that are out there. As long as you're eating a plant, you're likely eating some level of fiber. Obviously, some sources are higher in fiber than others, but if it's a plant source, it's going to have fiber. So it's just an easy way to think about it. And I did want to bring up fiber a little bit separately too for this group today, because people do travel frequently, and I'm sure everyone has experienced this at least once. If you're on a plane ride or a long car ride, and then your bowels get a little not happy, and you're maybe a little constipated, fiber is what helps you poop. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We're all adults. So especially important for those traveling people in here. Some of my clients who travel a lot, one of the easiest ways to improve their diet, honestly, is to focus on including more fiber. So just an easy way to think about it. But now that you've got a little bit of that high-level education, we're going to do our next activity, which is the last page of your packet. So it's still got all the pictures of these food, but then under each picture you're going to see that says carb, fiber, protein, and fat. So what I want you to do is take the next few minutes, work with your partners again, and find the carb, fiber, protein, and fat sources in each of these meals. I'm just writing them. Hopefully you got at least a few of the meals figured out, right? Just because of timing, we're not gonna go through everything in every single meal. I'll just go through a couple of them for you guys. So, anyone want me to go through anything specifically? All right, we'll just start with Starbucks then. So, Starbucks, for the carbohydrate source, it's going to be literally everything that's in this meal. The coffee does have milk in it, so that would be a source of carbohydrate in the coffee. And then everything else that's in this meal is also going to have carbs as well. The protein and the fat are actually going to be the same sources. So protein's going to be the dipping sauce, because that's a dairy-based sauce, the cheese, the peanut butter, and then the milk that's in the coffee, and that's going to be all the same sources of fat as well. And then fiber sources for this meal are going to be the fruits and vegetables, and then the whole grain bread. Those are going to be your main fiber sources. I'll also go through Chipotle, just because I know Chipotle is super popular. I need my ingredient list though, wherever it is. Okay, so Chipotle's carbohydrates, easy. It's going to be everything in this meal except for the chicken. So if you listed anything that wasn't chicken, you are correct. Fiber for this meal will be brown rice, black beans, guacamole, tomato salsa, and fajita veggies. So if you listed any of those 5, then good job. Fat sources, potentially the chicken, depending on how technical you want to get, like the oil that it's cooked in might have a little fat, but otherwise primarily it's going to be the guacamole, the sour cream, and the cheese. Those are going to be your main fat sources of this meal. And then protein is going to be chicken. There will be some in the brown rice, the black beans, the sour cream, and the light cheese as well. So, and then you can probably, obviously that would be similar to the Taco Bell meal, it'd be similar ingredients, but hopefully that gives you a gist of what some of the things would be in these meals. So, let me organize my papers now. Okay. So that's my last activity for you guys, so thank you. Hope you had fun. But then just to kind of wrap up my takeaways for you, the biggest thing that I really want you guys to get out of this is, again, not every meal that you eat is going to be perfect, and that's okay. There's also no such thing as bad foods. I know society really likes to make us think that there are foods you should eat, foods you shouldn't eat, based on calories or glycemic index or whatever it might be. There's no such thing. All foods fit, and just keep in mind that, yes, food is fuel, and food is medicine for sure, in my opinion, but food is also culture, and it's socializing, and it's love, and comfort, and it's all those things beyond calories, right? So that's why it's nice to keep in mind that there's no such thing as bad food. And once you start allowing all foods into your diet, you kind of get away from this feeling of the guilt that surrounds food, and you start experiencing what I call food freedom, which is honestly one of the best things in the world because it impacts your daily life. So kind of one thing to keep in mind with all of that, I guess, is as long as you're eating balanced meals 70 to 80% of the time, you really shouldn't have to be too concerned about what you're eating the other 20 to 30% of the time. That's a pretty decently balanced, like if you do the math for that, for like how many meals in a month that is and what that really comes down to, it's like if you were to go out to eat just a couple times a week, which that's not going to change your whole life or anything.
When you say balance, sorry, it's 1 to 1 to 1 to 1?
Not necessarily. I look at it more like if you want to have a snack and you're gonna go grab some crackers, okay, try to also maybe add like a cheese stick or something, because then you've got the carbs in there. If they're whole grain crackers, you're also got some fiber, and then that cheese stick is gonna give you some protein and fat. So it's more like, how do you balance meals and snacks in a way so that you're getting a little bit more of everything in? And it's mostly just to help sustain energy for longer. Yeah.
One thing I've been doing lately, and I'm wondering what you think of this, is I have balanced to me is half my plate is veggie, a quarter is good protein, and a quarter is a good carb.
Well, for one, I'll say, again, no such thing as good or bad, right? So.
Is that like proportionally?
Yeah, I think it depends on the person. So like that's great for some people. Some people who maybe work out a lot more need a different proportion than that. So I think that's a great starting place though, definitely. Yeah, and if that works for you and you feel satisfied after that meal, then I think that's perfect. So the other thing too that I really want you guys to take away from today is you're all really intelligent, successful people in this room, and you need to start fueling and treating yourself that way with your meals, right? So like really try to be doing what you can to make sure that you're always mentally and physically on your A game so that you can keep making a difference in your career world and in your positively influencing the people around you, working under you, working with you. And one way to do that is to just make sure you keep eating so you have energy and aren't hangry. And then finally, like that final takeaway, again, hopefully is really that balancing is great. It can't happen all the time, and that's okay. That's life. Life is not perfect, and neither is food. So sometimes your only option is really gonna be Taco Bell. And on the plus side, now you know they've got this bowl option, so cool, you can get some fiber, great. But what I really want you to know is that like if Taco Bell is your only option for lunch that day because you're on the road and that's the only exit little restaurant that you have, that's still gonna be better than not eating anything at all. And then it really just comes down to like, okay, what else can you be doing that day or throughout the week to balance out that meal? So just want to stress again that I'd rather you eat something than nothing at all. So thank you. Thanks for listening.
Lots of good nuggets and takeaways from her. I like all foods fit. That's something really easy just for me to lock in and take with. So, all right, you guys, we have one more workshop leader that's joined us today. So we're in the home stretch. She's got a lot of good stuff to chat about today. This is April Seifert. She is a doctor of social cognitive psychology and the co-founder of Peak Mind, the Center for Psychological Strength. April's self-care tip, which is something that I can relate to, is staying in her lane. So she's become highly disciplined at asking herself, is this my responsibility, or is this something that someone else should be doing? When she does this enables her to really focus on her own responsibilities and goals, and gives her the capacity to do that as opposed to not like over functioning for other people. So lots more good insights from April. All right, next up, Barb, thanks.
All right. I know I am standing between you and a sauna. I'll try to make this good. We're gonna start with a game. Does anybody know the game Two Truths and a Lie?
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna play Two Truths and a Lie. I'm gonna tell you 3 things about myself. One of them is a lie. Are you ready? I'm a licensed skydiver. I'm an award-winning songwriter. And one time I went blind. What do you got? I heard songwriter. Skydiver. Songwriter. Okay. I am a licensed skydiver. In the 2nd grade, I won a pizza for writing the Custer Elementary School song. I'm not gonna sing it. Maybe in a minute. I did not go blind once. I actually went blind twice. I know, we're all like bait and switch today in these little tricky talks. When I was 14, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And so for the last bunch of decades of my life, I've lived with this very uncertain disease that has left me blind a couple times, paralyzed a bunch of times, and a whole bunch of other shit that we just won't even go down that rabbit hole. How many of you right now are thinking, oh God, that's like really rugged. I'm glad I'm a healthy person. You can be super honest. Somebody raise their hand, right? Yeah. Here's the thing. We are not that much unalike. Like, we're not that much different than each other. Every single one of us is healthy until somebody tells us we're not. Every single one of our family members is healthy until someone tells them they're not. How many people in here have loved ones? Right? How many people in here have responsibilities? Right? Yeah. It is imperative. We're talking about self-care, and Erin asked me to speak. My main job is doing consumer and fan insight. We can talk about that later. But I wanted to come over into this part of the work that I do, which is really just a side passion project, because I am absolutely passionate that people do the things to support themselves. Not just when they're in a position where they've got an incurable autoimmune disease, but across the spectrum, so that you can show up for your family, you can show up for your company, you can show up for the contribution that you need to make. So we're going to talk about 2 sort of different angles on self-care from a mental health perspective. High five, Modern Health. I actually love you guys and knew about you before I met you, so I'm super excited we're connected. I'm going to talk about 2 angles to mental health. One of them is a very typical like psychology, bring the psychologist in and she'll talk about mindfulness. We're going to talk about that from a different perspective. And we're also going to talk about life design and a way that you can put some practices into your life in order to support yourself in showing up and performing in the way that you want to. Let's start with psychology. How many people have heard that phrase, probably on social media, it was probably on some kind of like meme background, that says you are not your thoughts? Oh, yeah. How many people have tried to meditate and fucking hated it? Yeah, I know, right? Has anybody heard of the man, Viktor Frankl? He wrote Man's Search for Meaning. Yeah. He has this beautiful quote that's in between stimulus and response, there's a space. And in that space lies your freedom. It's ad-libbed a little bit, but that's the gist. That space is what we're going to be working with in the first half of what I want to talk about today. That space truly does lie your freedom. Stimulus is everything that's happening in the world around us. It's a lot, right? In a given day. There's a lot. Our response is what happens in our mind, behaviorally, emotionally, all of it. That space is typically taken up by our mind. Our mind, by nature, at baseline, everyone, if you're a human being and you have a mind, your mind tends to run anxious. We tip in the anxiety, to the anxiety side. It's that whole, like, your mind wants to keep you alive, and so it's like looking for threats, and it has this negativity bias and whatever. We hear all those nice things, but we don't think about how they impact us on a day-to-day. Our mind, by default, anybody heard of default mode network? Default mode network is the default of our mind. Because it runs anxious, our mind by default puts anxiety into that space. Now I want to give you a few examples that will hopefully, we're going to bring back that whole like you are not your thoughts and make that make sense in the context of Viktor Frankl and all of these pieces that we put together. We're going to assemble the puzzle. I want to talk about 3 different, we're going to call them organs for the sake of today because it doesn't matter, it is good enough for this discussion. We're going to talk about your mind, we're going to talk about your stomach, we're going to talk about your heart. We're going to talk about what happens to each of those organs when you put it under stress. When you put your heart under stress, if I asked you to go run a 5K right now and run it fast, you're going to put your mind under, or you're going to put your heart under stress. What's it going to do?
Beat fast.
Beat fast. Tell me what your heart is going to do. Say the whole sentence.
It's going to beat fast.
My heart's going to beat fast, right?
Beat fast.
Yeah, great. Remember what he said. My heart is going to beat fast. How about your stomach? Let's say we just like blow all your advice. Like, no, I'm skipping my lunch. At 5 o'clock, you skip your lunch at 5 o'clock. You put your stomach under stress. What's it going to do? What's your stomach do? My stomach's going to growl, right? What would you say at 5 o'clock? You start to notice the sounds and the icky feelings. My stomach is growling, right? When you put your mind under stress, your mind has a nearly 100% completely predictable response. What does it do? It sends anxiety in the form of the default mode network, which chatters at you in these crazy things. For some people, you tend to look to the past. How many of you get anxious and you think about that ridiculous thing that you said 2 weeks ago to the grocery store clerk? How many of you future cast? How many of you start to like anxiously plan and try to guess what might happen if I make all these different decisions and see all the roads ahead? That is not you. That is your mind. Why didn't you say, I'm beating fast? Because it's not you, it's your heart. Why didn't you say, I'm growling? Right? Why didn't you do that? Why didn't you say, I'm growling? It's not you, it's your stomach. Why do you say, I'm anxious? It's not you. It's your mind. Your mind has an exactly predictable response to being put under stress. It sends you anxiety. Now, does that take the anxiety away? No. But what I'm going to ask you to do, and this is where mindfulness comes in. I don't care if you meditate to do it. I don't care what you do. I can give you 50 different ways to practice mindfulness that is not meditation. So just DM me or get my information from Erin. But truly, what meditation does is it reclaims that space that Frankl talked about. You cannot get your mind out of that space. You can't do it. How do I stop anxious thoughts? You can't. Your mind is doing what minds do when it's put under stress. What you can do is you can insert yourself into that space. You can get in that space with your mind and you can recognize that you are not your mind. You can start to say things to yourself like, my mind is feeling anxious. I am not anxious. My mind is feeling anxious. That's called psychological distance. We are no longer wrestling with the issue. We're saying, no, there it is. I'm being mindful, I'm pointing it out. My mind is feeling anxious right now. You want to get even better, 2 degrees of separation. I'm noticing that my mind is feeling anxious. I, who is separate from my mind, am noticing it, and it is anxious. I'm not anxious. And this is important because about 75 to 80% of the thoughts that we have are not thoughts that we chose. They are very repetitive, and most of them tend to tip to the negative because our mind by nature runs in an anxious way. So I want you to get used to practicing things where you are putting some psychological distance between you and your mind. It's hard because your mind runs in your own voice, or it runs in images that are very familiar to you, so it does feel like you, but it's not. It's literally just like sending you stuff. And I could talk for 3 hours about why that's the case. Again, DM me, get my information from Erin. But that's the first thing that I want you to understand is that your mind runs on anxiety. It is no different than stressing any other part of your body out. It's just doing what minds do. It has nothing to do with you. You are not weak. You don't lack resilience. You are not coping poorly. You're just a human being with a mind. So start distancing yourself from it. getting mindful about what's happening. Stop trying to wrestle and change it. You can't. Just let it go. Like, let it do its thing. And again, I can give you 30 to 50 ways to do that that are not meditation. Or you can meditate if you like that. Okay, so that's the psych stuff that I wanted to talk about. Now I want to talk a little bit about life design. And this is where we're going to get a little bit interactive. So those partners that you've been working with, they're going to be a good resource for this. I want to talk a little bit about this notion of self-care from a slightly different angle. If you Google self-care, what do you get? What images do you get?
Bathtub.
Bathtub. The bubble bath. Manicure. Sauna. I'm not talking on that one. Sauna. You get things like bubble baths and manicures and massages, and those are lovely. I love them. But when I think about self-care, I think about it in the form of a pyramid. Anybody take Psych 101, Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Yeah. Basic things, basic self-care, tier 1, is the stuff that we've been talking about. What do you need to do to support the biology of your body? Move, eat, sleep, drink water. Really basic things, right? So tier 1 self-care should happen, first, right? It's absolutely foundational. I want to talk about, and the stuff that you see when you Google self-care, that's tier 3 self-care. That's like the fun things that are lovely and wonderful, but let's face it, we're not getting massages every day. And you deserve to be taken care of every day. So tier 2 self-care is that stuff that falls in the middle. It is still very important, but it is not a nice to have. It needs to happen most days. So in order to do this, I want you to think about, and you can talk with your partner, you can jot notes down on your phone, you can draw a picture, because Heather's probably doing that. I want you to think about the last day that you had when you killed it. It was such a good day. Mentally, you were on, you felt like things were working, you showed up, you performed, you were the person that you just wish you could be every day. I want you to think about those days. Talk with your partner about that day for each of you. Talk about how you felt. How did your mind feel? How did the day feel? Ready, go. Describe all of that. Who wants to be the brave person that's going to share what they look and feel and experience when they're at their best? Best day. I was killing it. Who wants to describe it? I'll call on someone. You guys have name tags on. Yes.
All right, so my best days are like, I don't know, you feel invincible, right? Like nothing, anything that's getting thrown at you, you don't feel the negativity of it. For me, it's like I'm thinking about how is this positive? How can I problem solve this? How can we move on? How can we correct it? Whatever. I was telling these guys that I recently listened to Matt McConaughey's book, Green Lights, and I'm like, at the end of the day, like from a mental perspective, if I go into the day knowing that I'm catching green lights all day long, I'm feeling great. I'm having the best day.
I love that. That was really good. I need one more. Yeah.
Both my partner and I's days are related to productivity, so we don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah, keep going.
Both a personally and professionally productive day. So just crossing things off the to-do list and taking care of ourselves and our work at the same time.
I love it. Why are you able to be positive on certain days? What do you think it is?
Oh man. My mind, I get to like, sometimes I really believe I can separate, like you talking about that, I've never thought about it, never articulated the idea that it's my brain, it's not me, it's my mind.
Yeah.
But when I'm able to consciously accept that I get to choose how I respond to something, I know that my day is going to be great.
I love that. What allows you to be productive?
Great question.
Like, flip it around. What would be different about your day that would hose that whole thing up?
Atmosphere, probably.
Okay, keep going. Describe it a little bit.
Well, so it was a work from home day, so I was able to do laundry and also hop into meetings, but also go walk for a coffee, water my plants, work outside.
Yes, I love that. All right, we're gonna hang out with our partners one more time. I want you to talk about the opposite. The last time you had a day where you were like, 1 step forward, 8 steps back, this sucks. I just want to pack all this in. I hate it. I'm not hitting green green lights, this is bad. Describe that. How did the day go? How did you feel? Sort of the circumstances around it. Ready, go. All right, who wants to be brave and air their dirty laundry? I need 2 brave souls. This is my first brave soul.
All right, I will.
Yes.
So we talked about the conditions of our unproductive, don't feel like we're killing it days, and I think what I took away at the end was, in both cases, we're both trying to figure out, like, why am I so down today? Like, I am effed in the head, and I'm more effed in the head because I'm trying to figure out why, instead of just letting that be, and that creates all this extra energy around it.
Yeah, that's really good. One more. Yeah.
Mine I realized it's dealing with attaching to things, because the first one was I'm not attached to anything. Like something bad goes wrong, I'm like whatever. Something good goes wrong, it's like cool, bye. And but then on the bad days, it's I attach to everything.
Interesting.
Like something bad goes wrong, it's like oh why? Why did they not like me, or they didn't, you know, or whatever. Everything's attachment.
Yeah.
So
that's really good. There's a sidebar. There's an interesting analog that we use in psychology about a beach ball. Like imagine you're in a pool and that beach ball is the thing that you're attaching to, right? When we attach to a thought, a situation, what we did, we're ruminating, we're future, like all the stuff, right? The anxiety, default mode network. When we're attached to stuff, what we're doing is it's as though we're trying to get rid of the beach ball and we've jumped on top of it and we're like, no, you're gonna go under the surface of the water. I am sick of looking at you, and you're pushing the beach ball down and you're pushing the beach ball down, and at some point it gets slippery, and then what happens? It comes up and it whacks you right in the face. Instead, just fucking let the beach ball go. It's still in the pool with you. You haven't gotten rid of the beach ball. You can't get rid of the beach ball. In a lot of cases, like, I can't control what my coworker did. I don't have complete control over the outcome. I cannot control what madness it is sending me. Just let the beach ball be in the pool with you. Go swim around. You're allowed to coexist with it, and it's allowed to be there, but you can be there too. Okay, sidebar, back on. All right, we just described 2 things. We described ourselves at our best. In the scenario, we described ourselves suboptimally, not a great scenario. I want you to think about, and this is going to be very individual for everybody, who, what, when, where, why, how much is different between those 2 scenarios. Are there people that you interacted with that are different? And you might have to do this going forward, right? Pay attention on your good days, pay attention on your not so great days. Are there people, types of people, the energy they bring, what? Are there people that are different between those 2 days? So who, what? What are you doing? What are the activities that you're doing? Are they different? When? Is when they're happening? Or how much time you allow? How much space happens between them? Where? The setting. And this is more than just geography, right? Like working from home is a setting, but there's specifics around that setting. Maybe you have some time where you're isolated, right? Your coworkers aren't in your kitchen with you. Why? Is it hitting on the stuff that matters to you, and how much stuff have you crammed into that day? If you start to look for patterns between where you show up at your best and those days where it is suboptimal, along those different continuums, you have the building blocks of what I would call a level 2 self-care plan. You know the people you need to spend more time with or not. You know the activities you need to push into more or not. Pay attention to your mind. This is why I brought this bad boy up here. This is my self-care. This is not a bubble bath. It is not a manicure. It is not anything fancy. It's a planner. I use one from Best Self Co. called the Self Journal. I don't care which one you use. You don't even write it down. Like, it doesn't matter. Just find one that you like. I've done this for like 7 years now. This is my self-care because what I noticed is one of the biggest differences between the days when I was doing a great job and the days when I wasn't. And this ties into productivity. I was able to be more productive, but I felt calmer. I was able to do one thing at a time, not 12 things at a time. That's the overfunctioner in me. I'm gonna try to do 12 things and make progress on all of them at the same time. This was the difference between me having more frenetic days where I was like octopusing all this stuff versus a focused, less stressful, I'm not gonna call it stress-free, less stressful day where I felt like I accomplished something that day. And the reason why is this journal and this planner allows me to plan a month out, a week out, and a day out, and I do this often. Because for me, the biggest difference is that my mind, my default mode network was running through lists of stuff. You're gonna forget, don't forget to. Did you remember? Did you call? Did you plan? Did you make? Did you buy? Did you organize? Did you meet? Did you whatever? I need some place to put it that I trust, that I know that I have it. And every single morning, I need to remind myself, you're okay, you have it. It's okay to be type A and crazy. You're okay, you're okay. That's why you have a business and you're good at it. But like, I needed a place to put some of it. It's not gone, but it's in a trusted place. And I give this example because this might not be your self-care, but the keys to what your level 2 self-care is, or should be, lies in the difference between those 2 days. What do you have to do to your brain to get it in that mindset? What do you have to do to unattach? What do you have to do to look at it and be like, that was funny. I mean, that was like a really crazy reaction that person had. I wonder what's going on with them. Versus, are you joking? Like, what do you have to do to get your mind in that situation? Because over half of the game is mental, right? You guys talked about a productive day. That's not a day where you're sitting around. There's a ton of stuff in that day. But there was an environmental difference, right? There was probably a mindset difference that day. So I can't tell any of you what that level 2 self-care should be, but use those feelings, the mindset, the environment, use that to construct or design bits of your day going forward. Little bits that you inject into your day make a huge difference. This takes me 5 minutes every morning, and I can set it down. And I can say, all I have to do is this one thing today, and I need to make some good progress on this other thing. And I mean, literally, I can go home and feel pretty good that I did enough. Because the rest of it, there's space and there's room for it. So, I talked about a couple of things today. I talked about the unattaching from your own mind. Get in the practice of doing that. Mindfulness is literally just the practice of convincing yourself, which is not your mind, that you guys are different. Start talking to your mind like it's separate from you. Start talking to it the way that you would talk to your stomach or your heart. It is no different. It's another organ rattling around in your body. So create that distance. Put yourself in that space that Frankl talked about with your mind. You're allowed to inhabit that space as well. And then do the work to figure out what it is you need to do, whether it's a morning routine, whether it's something at night planning out your day, whether it is blocking off fake meetings on your calendar so you have space to breathe. I did that in corporate America. If I can get away with it there, I can certainly get away with it when I control my own calendar. But think about those things from the perspective of what do you need to support yourself at the level of a professional athlete that you are. All right, that's all I have.
Yeah. Let's give them a round of applause. So, you know, at the the end of the day, I dream up these ideas around these events, and then I basically just dump them on our team, and they make it happen. But this one was one that really felt important to me because I listened to you. And a lot of the topics of conversations that happen in groups are around time management and, you know, the mental stress and anxiety, and then, you know, the physical things that go along with it. And we just addressed a lot of those with just 3 30-minute chunks. But the message is for us is that we care about you. I've said that since day one, since you became a member, is that I don't care about the business you're associated with. I don't care about what your fancy ass title is or whatever. I care about you as a human being. I believe in humankind. And so we need to take care of each other, and you need to take care of yourself. And so we just wanted to reinvest in you. So again, thank you so much. These are all C9ers, so they are all available on Slack. Those of you that go on Slack, you can ask Cece about getting contact information for them, so Cece can provide that to you. And then I obviously am happy to make an introduction or anything like that. I want to thank Kelly and Modern Health and all the great work that they're doing. It just makes sense, right? So do yourself a favor and read a little bit about what they do, see if it makes sense for your organization and makes sense for you as an individual. I want to thank Mike and the Alchemy 365 team. Thank you so much. All of our event supporters, Acre, Cox, and Revival, which is parked right outside. All of our community supporters, everybody that I introduced earlier. I do a horseshit job at this. I want to thank our team. So Emily and Brenda, they crush it. Brenda, if you guys, I get so many great comments about our LinkedIn stuff and our email newsletter and all that stuff. That's all Brenda. I don't do any of that stuff. So even the stuff that I post, it's all Brenda. So Brenda is amazing. And then Emily crushes these events, you know, the behind the scenes, getting everyone coordinated, all this stuff, the magic that goes into that. I need to do a better job of that in the future and make sure to give you guys shots. So fantastic job.